More people than ever are clocking in from home, but a new trend has online privacy experts sounding the alarm. Your boss could actually be using technology to spy on you, and we're talking about that this morning with our tech expert, Dave Hatter. Good to see you, Dave. So what is bossware, and how does it work?
Thanks for having me, Sheila. Yeah, this is kind of insidious. I think most people don't realize they could be working in an environment where they have this. As people had to work at home during the pandemic, of course, their employers are concerned about, are they really being productive? And, there's been a lot of talk about, do people need to go back to the office? So bossware is kind of a generic term that this category of software has gotten named. It's not new, but it can be quite invasive. Once it's installed on your device, it can capture your keystrokes, it can turn on your camera, activate your microphone, and basically just sort of track everything that you're doing all day long while you work.
I would imagine that would come with some personal privacy risks, no?
You might think, since literally it can take your picture while you're working, again, turn on your camera, capture all your keystrokes, listen to your microphone. Now, there's an argument to be made that as an employee, you should be productive. Bosses want to know if you're productive. And the companies that sell this stuff will often say, well, they create productivity metrics. And for employees that are working, it shows that they're actually working. But yeah, it's very invasive. And unfortunately, it's legal in all 50 states, and in most states, there's not even a requirement to tell employees that they might be tracked in this way. So that's the thing that I think is a little disturbing is, as an employee working from home, you may have no idea that this software is literally tracking your every move. And your guys' intro to this was great, by the way.
Thank you.
Great lead up.
Well, you say they don't have to tell us, but I mean, I'm assuming if I'm using a company iPad or computer or something, that they're monitoring, or they're at least able to monitor what I do on it.
And I think that's the right assumption, Sheila. You should understand that if you're using any sort of work provided device, there's at least the opportunity to monitor. Many companies have some kind of policy that will state that. And for cyber insurance, in many cases, you have to have a policy around this sort of thing. But yeah, if you think you're probably not being monitored at all when you're working from home or using any kind of company device, whether you're at home or in the office for that matter, that's probably a bad assumption. One study that was recently done found 6 out of 10 employers, and they only sampled a small set, but 6 out of 10 employers were using some type of capability like this. And even if you're just using email, your employer certainly has the ability to go in and read it. So yeah, it would be good for you to understand that you are probably being monitored to some degree. And in some instances, literally everything you do all day long could be monitored to try to determine, are you doing what you're supposed to do? Are you a security risk? Are you a theft risk? Are you going to steal intellectual property? Are you going to quit soon? That kind of thing.
Well, from a company standpoint, do you think it's a good idea for them to use this kind of tech?
In my opinion, probably not, unless you're going to tell the employees, to basically have this sort of surreptitious, surveillance software running in the background. In my mind, probably doesn't make a lot of sense unless you're going to tell the employees they're monitored so that they can behave appropriately. And it's difficult. We hear every day how difficult it is to retain and recruit employees. Mm-hmm. Creating an environment where you have this big brother like Orwellian kind of surveillance running at all times, especially if people don't even realize it and thus can act appropriately and accordingly. In my opinion, it's not a good idea. But what do I know, Sheila?
So you said it's legal. You said that they don't have to tell employees. Is there anything employees can do?
Not really, because again, a lot of this stuff is designed to run silently in the background. You won't know it's there unless they tell you. So, from a privacy and security standpoint, other than really, honestly, do what you're supposed to do and understand that in any kind of environment where you're working with some type of computer device, it can be tracked. And I can almost guarantee there is some monitoring going on to some extent. I think if you understand that going into it, you're probably less likely to run into trouble. But yeah, this stuff can be extremely pervasive, and people need to understand that.
Yeah, I think that's probably really good advice. Dave Hatter, as always, thank you so much for the information.
My pleasure. Thanks, Sheila.
Have a good one.